I'm filming a video and not wearing makeup, which can only mean one thing. I'm traveling again. If you've been around on the channel for a little bit, you know I've done a few random little travel vloggy videos documenting my time taking my Switch abroad with me. And since we are in a new era of the Switch 2, I figured now is the time to talk about traveling with my Switch 2. Hi everybody, my name's Alex, aka Quality, and welcome back to the channel. Quite literally, we are a few hours, less than 2 hours by the time that I have to go to the airport. I'm just finishing packing. I haven't packed any of my Switch stuff yet. Everything is in chaos and I feel like I'm dying a little bit. But I'm very excited. Not only is this trip kind of marking the maiden voyage of the Switch 2, taking the world by storm on an abroad journey, this is also my very first time going abroad by myself. It's crazy because traveling alone is never something that I really thought I'd actually have the balls to go do, to be honest. But it just kind of felt like the right time in my life to go and do it. You know, I'm in my late 20s, I've got a good job, I've got the time, and there's been a lot of really big change in my personal life over the past year or so. So I just kind of figured, you know, it's really time to go out there and do it. And after doing ample research, it seemed like the best place to go as a solo female traveler alone in this world was gonna be Iceland. So I am taking off for Iceland tonight on September 30th. It's absolutely crazy. Holy hell. But what is one comfort in my life is my Switch 2, and that's why, man, am I bringing this thing with me. Now, actually, funnily enough, one of the biggest questions I got after getting my Switch 2 is how does it travel? And I didn't have the answer for that because I hadn't done it yet, but now we're doing it. Now, one of the biggest things is obviously the Switch 2 is so much bigger than the original Switch. Like, this was so easy to travel around Europe and Australia with. I didn't even think about it. This, however, is a much bigger console and much heavier too, so that also, you know, isn't fantastic. I've mentioned it before, I love how the Switch 2 feels. A lot of that is due to the Joy-Cons just being a lot better of a fit for my hand, but at the same time, yeah, it's much larger. If you've also watched many of my other travel videos or any of my videos talking about accessories, you know that my favorite Switch case of all time is the TomTok Slim case. This is not one of the ones they've sent me. I've been very fortunate to have had them send me cases over the years, but this is just my favorite one that I have used for my personal Switch for years. And of course, when the Switch 2 came out, I had to get another one. And so here is the TomTok Switch 2 Slim case. Obviously, it's a pretty big size difference. However, with this still keeps my Switch in a pretty contained and very safe space. The bones of this one are the exact same. We've got kind of the nice soft inside. We also have this little thing that you put on top of the screen so that way it doesn't like fall out. I'll show that in a second. Nice soft stuff here and plenty of storage for games. Now we'll talk about the games I'm bringing in a second and why I'm bringing specific games, but obviously this is basically just the same case as it was for the Switch 1, just tremendously bigger. I also don't have a cool charm on this one, but it is what it is. I am putting my Switch 2 in my backpack, which is kind of my carry-on, kind of my personal item, so I'm gonna have it at my feet the entire time. With the size of my backpack, this upgrade in size shouldn't be too big of a deal when putting this in my backpack, but I'm not sure yet. So stay tuned for that review later on throughout the journey. But yeah, we'll see. I do love these cases. I highly recommend them just in general if you want a slimmer case. Obviously, can't speak for this one on travel yet, but I know my OG TomTok has served me well for many years at this point in time, so highly recommend TomTok cases. Also, just a disclaimer, I didn't get this one for free too. I bought this with my own hard-earned money. But TomTok, if you would like to send me more, I wouldn't totally say no, but I do love this case. Now, aside from the games too, the only other thing I really need to bring is a USB-C charging cable. Now, I was planning to bring my original one that comes with the Switch 2 because I've just noticed a lot better success charging-wise with the one that came with the Switch. But because I have so many other things that need to be USB-C and my international plug only has one USB-C port, which I need for my watch charger, I'm bringing just this one that came with my 8-bit do. It's just obviously your normal one, but also it fits the green aesthetic. It's so me, so I'll be bringing this. Now, obviously, one of the biggest trials with the Switch 2 is the battery life. Now, I've been playing Final Fantasy X, which we'll get to in a little bit, which, given that it's just a normal Switch game, hasn't been a drain on the battery all that bad. I'm worried about some of the Switch 2 games that I'm gonna bring. Of course, I'll have ample opportunities to charge my Switch, and also I'm not really gonna be using it all too much, you know, during the trip. I'm going to have it during downtime when I'm sitting back at my hotel or waiting for the plane to take off tonight. I'm gonna try to sleep on the plane because it's kind of a red-eye flight, so hopefully that, and then the plane ride coming back. So it's not really, you know, hopefully it's not gonna be too bad, but of all of my concerns, even more so than the fact that it's just a bigger console, the battery life is the thing I'm most concerned about playing those heavier duty Switch games. So we'll see. And now for the games I'm bringing. Obviously, I won't be doing that much gaming probably, but I still want to be prepared just in case I do. Now, also, to preface this, I've said it in many of my videos this year, I haven't been able to game a lot. So some of these you might be thinking, you haven't even started this? Like, you've barely scratched the surface of this? Correct. That is 100% correct. But we'll get into that later in the video, I think, because kind of the solo trip and my gaming burnout and all of this other stuff is all kind of weirdly interconnected, so stay tuned for those deep talks. But first on the docket, we still have Final Fantasy X. I am so close to the end of this game, my friends. I'm so close. I'm quite literally right at the very end. I just didn't have time to finish it before having to get ready for today. I was kind of working on it throughout last week, but the busy season at work is finally winding down, so I will finally have more time in my schedule to be able to play games when I'm feeling motivated to do so, but we're so close to the end. Final Fantasy X has been an absolute joy, and I'm sad to see it be so close to being done, but I'm also kind of ready for it to be done. I'm ready to move on to bigger and better things. But yeah, this game's been great. Whether or not I'll actually finish on the trip, I don't know. We'll see. Again, we're kind of right towards the end with some big boss battles ahead, but we'll see. We'll see if I have the time to devote to that. Of course, I need some kind of multiplayer game just to kind of keep my brain occupied, so Mario Kart World is coming with me. In fact, whether or not I'll actually be able to play online, or maybe I'll finally actually do the free roam mode, which I still haven't done in this game yet, then this is probably going to be a good sitting at the airport just trying to kill time situation. Now, I started this game on stream not that long ago, but I haven't been able to stream and I haven't been able to play more of this game, so I'm bringing it just in case. I don't actually know how much I'm really going to play it or if I'm going to save it for when I get back, but Donkey Kong Bonanza. The first few hours of this game, a blast. I want to get into this game so bad. It's so fun. Yeah, having the burnout that I've had, it's been really difficult, so I'm bringing it along just in case I get that urge to maybe play a few levels. It seems like a good pick up and play kind of game for this trip. And possibly, finally, if I end up going to go get what I might go get, you'll see footage of that in a second too, but a game I haven't even opened yet, but a game that I was highly anticipating, Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar. I have been so excited for this game. I've talked about Grand Bazaar. It was the one Harvest Moon game on the DS I didn't have that wasn't a puzzle game, and I was so excited when they announced this remake. I was so down to play it right when it came out, and then my life kind of exploded a little bit. So, what a better time to start a relaxing farming game than on a trip. So it's coming with me. I probably will at least dive into this. I've got to open it so I can at least get the game out. So I'm planning on starting this probably sometime within the trip. But so far, that's it. And okay, I also ran and got Final Fantasy Tactics because it just came out today, so yay! I wasn't sure if I was gonna pick it up today or if I was gonna wait until I got back. My mom was actually gonna come and get a copy herself. Didn't do it. I got the Switch 1 version, obviously, because the Switch 2 version is on a key card and I don't really care about that. So, yay! Final Fantasy Tactics! Also coming on the plane with me. So that's what's coming with me. Hopefully, this is all good. I'm feeling a little nervous now. I'm kind of using this video almost as a pre-trip / during trip / post-trip diary almost, which feels super duper weird. But yeah, I'm very excited. This is something I never thought I was gonna go do. So we're doing it. We're gonna go do it. Enjoy some vacation videos and videos of me playing Switch and documenting my experience with this whole thing. And I'll see ya in Iceland. after just a few short days, I'm back from my trip, back from Iceland, and I had the most incredible time. Honestly, I cannot describe to you how crazily freeing it was to be able to go and do this by myself. It's really kind of crazy. We'll get a little into that too as we go on in the video, but first I want to talk about how actually easy it was to travel with my Nintendo Switch 2. And I'll be honest, it wasn't super duper easy. So I'm pretty sure, I'm filming this obviously once I got back, I'm pretty sure initially I talked about how some of the biggest concerns that I had with taking my Switch 2 on this trip with me were the battery life and the fact that it's just a bigger console, so it was gonna take up more space in my backpack. It was definitely harder to maneuver around in my backpack with the Switch 2 versus the Switch 1. It took up a lot more space in the pocket that it was in, which is usually like my designated electronics pocket because it's easy to access when I have my backpack underneath the seat in front of me on the plane. And yeah, it's usually just easy access. With my Switch 1, I was able to just pull it out. With this one, and also having my bag for cables in there and my action camera, it was a little more difficult to try to squeeze this one in also a way that I could just grab it out. So part of it was definitely my packing, but it does kind of put a damper on things when it's like, okay, now I'm struggling and looking like a fool to the people next to me on the plane trying to get this guy out of my bag. So that was one thing. That said though, I didn't really play my Switch a whole ton. That has been a trend in these travel videos too. Like, I bring my Switch with the intention of playing, but I usually end up just going and experiencing the world and such, which is what you're supposed to do on a vacation, right? But I always like having it just in case I have that downtime, which I did have a few moments. I didn't really play it on the plane ride there because it was an overnight plane. I left at 8:30 at night and was getting into Iceland at 6:30 in the morning. So I needed time to try to sleep, so I kind of just listened to music, watched a whale documentary, and fell asleep. And that's kind of what happened. But I did play it, I think my first or second night in my hotel. I was feeling kind of like a, oh my gosh, I did this, I'm here, but now it's kind of time for bed, but I'm not really ready to sleep, but I don't really want to go out, so let's play some Switch in bed. That didn't last too long because very quickly after that I passed out. I also brought it with me with the intention of playing it on some of the bus rides on the various tours I was going on. However, that also didn't really happen because I was just totally enraptured by the beautiful Icelandic scenery when I was exploring the Golden Circle and doing the Northern Lights stuff. There was a lot to see and do there, so it made it really hard to try to look at my Switch. I did take a picture of my Switch by Geyser, which is the original Geyser, the OG Geyser where all geysers get the name Geyser from. That's a fun Icelandic fact. But honestly, yeah, just even having it with me was kind of a nice bit of comfort, weirdly enough. And I played it for most of the trip back, which was very, very, very nice. But that is where problem number 2 arose from. The battery life. So when I was showing you all of the things that I was going to bring, I showed a USB to USB-C cable. Now, I'm pretty sure I might have said that I haven't had great luck charging my Switch 2 with just a normal USB to USB-C cable. I've only really ever had good charging with the USB-C to USB-C that came with the Switch 2, and that was 100% true for this as well. Now, the USB-C ports already don't do a good job at charging electronics on Delta flights. That's just kind of how they are. You don't really expect them to work super duper well most of the time, at least not in my experience, and that's charging my phone, headphones, anything of the sort. Even my original Switch, it kind of suffered a lot with charging on a plane. So already not a great combination. But my Switch 2 was actively losing charge while it was plugged in, which really sucks, honestly. Throughout most of the trip, I really only played Final Fantasy X. I played that when I was at the hotel, and I did start it again when I was at the airport Sunday morning. And it was fine, I wasn't really checking the battery. That game doesn't typically drain my Switch 2 battery, probably because it's a Switch 1 game, it's not super intensive, so I usually get quite a few hours of playtime out of that game. However, I did finally start Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, which it's such a cute game, by the way. It's so cute. Honestly, it was kind of the pickup I needed after kind of getting my butt kicked in a certain Final Fantasy X battle multiple times. I did beat it now. We're getting closer to the end. I'm probably gonna beat it this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see. I've been saying that for a long time now, but I'm confident. I'm confident. But Grand Bazaar was definitely like a nice little change of pace for me. I was gonna jump right into Final Fantasy Tactics, but I do feel like, yes, a chill farming game was the right call for the moment. Being stressed out at the airport and tired and sleep deprived, it was the right decision. So I ended up playing more of that on the flight, and once I switched over to that game though, my battery life plummeted. Absolutely plummeted. Probably because it's a Switch 2 game, it's a lot more intensive, but even then, you know, it's not like I was playing Mario Kart. I'm still just playing a farming game. This did also happen to me with Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma as well. Like, it drained my battery, and I think that's just kind of like, here's the Switch 2 game, and yeah, you're gonna get maybe 2 hours of playtime on this one. So, and I took a little bit of footage too. Basically, I didn't play it for the first hour of the flight. Once I got queued for boarding, obviously I put the Switch away. First hour and a half I didn't play it, brought it back out, and I probably got an hour and a half of usage before I had to plug it in. And I knew it wasn't really gonna charge a whole ton, but I plugged it in with the anticipation that maybe it would at least like keep it floating around the same mark. And that, like, you know, elongated my playtime a little bit. I probably got another 30 minutes out of it before I said, okay, I'm gonna give this time to charge. From the time I stopped to the hour or so, maybe hour 20 before I picked it back up, it charged about 5%. Obviously a lot of contributing factors. Delta USB ports suck. The cord that I brought, while is a great charging cord for any of my other electronics, obviously is not a good one for this one because it only really wants to use the one that it came with, which I can't bring on a flight because they don't have USB-C ports on those planes. Probably won't for a while because it's still kind of a newer way of doing it. And yeah, just a battery intensive game. So that didn't really help. So at that point in time, I kind of just said, screw it, I'm gonna play it for as long as I can. And by the end of the flight, which I stopped playing, I think again, the last hour of the flight, it was 6 hours and 20 minutes. So I stopped a little after the last hour had started just to kind of chill, get ready for landing, all of that kind of stuff. I got down to, I think, 9% is what I ended it with. And that's only after playing it for maybe like 2.5, maybe 3 hours of the flight. So that was really unfortunate. I've heard people had worse, I've heard people have better, I don't know. I've tried retraining this battery, but I think, I just think that's kind of where that's at, to be honest. Which is bummy, because I would have literally played my Switch the entire flight, minus like the first hour that I tried to take a little snooze and was moderately unsuccessful. That said though, I am still really glad I brought my Switch 2 with me. Even though I don't usually play it a whole ton when I go on these vacations, it's nice to have a little bit of home and just an option of something more comforting to do amongst the stress of travel. And yeah, the flight home, it was really, really nice to have it because I was so bored. I didn't want to watch a movie. I wanted to get home. I had been up for so long at that point in time. It was time. It was time. I do think that bringing my Switch with me too also kind of helped me get out of my gaming slump a little bit. Sometimes that happens when I get stuck in a game for a long time, and even though I've been loving my time with Final Fantasy X, I'm kind of ready for it to be over. Playing a little bit of Grand Bazaar was really, really nice, but also I think just playing it in a different location, in a different circumstance other than trying to play video games when I get home exhausted from work was really, really nice, and it made me really enjoy gaming for the first time in a while. Now, you've probably noticed if you've been around for a while, content hasn't really been happening a whole ton this year. I've mentioned it a few times. I've gone through a lot of change in my personal life over the past year, from a big upgrade to a job, to a relationship change, to lots of friends having changes in their own lives, having just different realizations about what I want my life to look like. It's been really hard to juggle everything. And something I realized on this trip is that I've spent so much of my life, not just in the past year, but so much of my life in general, giving myself to other people in a lot of different ways that I never leave enough for myself. So going on this trip completely alone was the first thing I've done for myself in a really, really long time. And I kind of needed that to remind myself that it's okay to be a little selfish. It's okay to take the time and enjoy things and not always be doing something in the service for others. And it felt like I kind of started doing that in terms of gaming and content making, as well as other aspects of my life, but more relevant to the here and now. Like, you know, I make content because I love doing it. That's number one, but I do also make content for you all. So that way you can enjoy and discuss and just, yeah, have something fun, hopefully, to watch. And sometimes it's hard to keep up with that, with these expectations that I mainly put on myself, but also that the YouTube algorithm puts out. And, you know, I see a bunch of other YouTubers hitting these incredible milestones, and I'm so happy for them, and I'm just like, I don't have the energy. I just don't have the energy. And, you know, I never want to put out stuff that isn't good or interesting. And I know I have. We all do every now and again. But, yeah, it's refocusing a lot of stuff in my life, and gaming kind of gotten the same thing. I was really getting down on myself for not beating as many games this year because I just haven't been in the mindset where I felt like I can take that time and really play games and just sit down and tune out the rest of the world. And yeah, I haven't been collecting as much this year. I feel like this trip really helped me refocus my life and realize that all of that's okay. All of that's okay, but it's also okay to just do things for myself, and that, you know, the doing stuff for other people, the making content for you all, that will all come in time, but I need to take care of myself first. Which, you know, sounds so simple, but sometimes when you're somebody like me, it's really hard to, like, get that to stick in your brain. So that was a really big thing that I took out of this trip, and I'm really hoping it's gonna have a positive effect on content both on here and on Twitch, and just on being able to complete more and more games and have so many more gaming experiences. So all in all, the conclusion, the part that you're probably all more so waiting for in terms of the Switch 2, would I travel with my Switch 2 again? Yes, but I think if I'm able to, if I'm mainly playing Switch games, I might just bring my OG Switch. It's way easier to travel with. It's kind of like how the Switch Lite was to the normal Switch, a much smaller, more compact version of the same thing. With my Switch 1, because it's kind of just here still, I haven't really used it since I got my Switch 2, I think that's a much better travel console for me, especially for something that I'm not bringing a dock to or anything like that. I'm exclusively playing handheld. If I'm playing a lot of Switch games, which I have plenty of Switch 1 games to play, I can just bring that instead of my Switch 2. I think the only reason I would bring my Switch 2 over my Switch 1 is mainly just because if there's a big title Switch 2 game, like I really did want to play some Bonanza on this trip, but I just didn't have the chance, then that would be a great time to bring my Switch 2. But at the stage I'm at right now, I'd probably choose bringing my Switch 1 on a trip over this. The one thing I will say that was really nice, though, is having the good kickstand of the Switch 2 was so nice, because with my Switch 1, having it on the pull-out tray, it would wobble anytime there was turbulence. It wasn't great. This, easy. This was so easy. So that is one big plus of the Switch 2 when you're traveling on a plane, especially. So that's a positive. But still, ultimately, I would probably maybe choose my Switch 1 for travel, keep the Switch 2 for handheld and TV use at home, and kind of go from there. But let me know, have you traveled with your Switch 2? What do you think? Do you think it's easier or better than traveling with your Switch 1? How do you prefer to game while you travel? Do you game while you travel? Tell me all of these things. I'd love to hear them all. But also, if you liked this video, maybe consider giving it a thumbs up. I always appreciate it. It lets me know that I'm doing a good job. And if you're not already subscribed, consider it. We have a good time here every now and again, I like to say. But that's gonna do it for this one. Hopefully I'll see you all really soon now that I am refreshed and refocused and ready to play some games. So I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye! Boop!